0.9. Or just to demonstrate the effect that this will have, let's set it at 0.2. So now if we press F5, play game, now we'll let the player shoot at us. And we'll see what's going on. Now it's a little bit slower, but as you can see, it's not angled properly. So let's worry about that now. The rotation is equal to float math.atan. It's y over x, not x over y. So here's the same issue we had before with the enemy. We had to call normalize velocity instead of doing it this way. So now we just normalize velocity. And now let's see how our bullet looks. Now the 0.2 takes effect, but we still have the angle problem. Okay, so here is the issue. In the completed games I did before, the bullet texture was pointed to the left and right. But the focus of that picture was so it would shoot to the right when the angle is 0. Now, I'll bring the picture here so you can see it. So when the angle is 0, we want it to shoot to the right. When the angle is -90, we want it to shoot up. When the angle is +90, we want it to shoot down. When the angle is 180 or -180, and again, if it's positive 270, it'll shoot up. If it's negative 270, it'll shoot down. That's where we want it to look or shoot. Alright, so here's how we can fix this. We want it to point to the right. Our bullet paper is pointed up. So we just need to, up is either positive 270 or -90. So either way we set it up, it'll work fine. So let's set it up as -90. So when we set the rotation is equal to this, before the semicolon, set plus math helper dot 2 radians and pass it 90. Then we have the semicolon, and let's mess with this velocity, uncomment that out, and let's see if that worked. Now it's pointing directly at us. Okay, so atan2 might be better. Again, do a comma, and then we can see how atan2 looks compared to atan single, since you can really tell the texture apart. You couldn't in the other sample. So we want the small part to face us and the large part to go away. So atan2 works that way. Okay. So now we can modify 0.2 to about, or how about twice as fast? Let's try that. Okay. So you can play around with that and go from there. Okay, now you saw that when we launched the game, you noticed that there was a kind of a lag before the enemy died. When we do a collision, the enemy just stayed there for a second and then it died. Now this is in preparation for a extra tutorial that I will be releasing. If you do not want that effect, you go to the class you want. Both bullets and enemy do this. And the player probably does too. We haven't killed the player yet. So just comment out the die time. For the bullet, the enemy. Bullet does it too, yep. And the player. Somewhere the player should do it too. Okay, so now when we comment that out, the gameplay object will die instantly like it should. And that's what we want. Alright. Well, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you are enjoying the fact that we are almost at the end of this complete games, and then we can go on with the extras. Going from a sample that I made and the tutorial I made a few years ago to bring in some little enhancements into the mix is a little bit confusing. So I mixed something up. It's pretty easy to mix up the images, where I had it pointing up instead of the usual pointing to the right. I usually make it whenever I'm doing an image, I usually make it, the final thing I do is just make sure it's pointing to the right, but sometimes I forget to do that, and the issue is that you saw today, that if it's pointing a different way, the rotation will be off. So you need to correct that. Now, the game we have now, the sprites are a lot bigger than they should be, and the bullet is not oriented the right way as it should be. It's pointing up instead of the right. So I'm going to modify these sprites. I'm going to make them smaller, and I'm going to make the bullet sprite the correct rotation. So that way, what we just did today, this is temporary. What we did with the rotation, when we added MathHelper.2 radians 90, we will delete that in the next tutorial. I will have the updated images for you. So next tutorial, we will worry about the pause screen and getting the new textures into the game. Hope to see you the next time.